Welcome back, YouTube. We're here for yet another day of the Blind 75 challenge, where we're solving one problem per day from the Blind 75 list of LeetCode questions. Today we have a problem called Maximum Product Subarray, and it's very similar to the problem from yesterday. Let's take a look at what the question asks us. Given an integer array nums, find a contiguous non-empty subarray within the array that has the largest product. Return the product. The test cases are generated so that the answer will always fit in a 32-bit integer. A subarray is a contiguous sequence of the array. And from the examples we can see we have the nums array 2, 3, -2 and 4, and the output is 6, and the explanation tells us 2 and 3 has the largest product of 6. And example 2, we have the nums array -2, 0, -1, and the output is 0. And the explanation for this one tells us that the result cannot be 2 because -2 and -1 is not a subarray. So this is the part in the Blind 75 challenge where some of the questions kind of come together. So if we think about the answer from yesterday, we can remember that we used Cadane's algorithm to solve it. And just as a refresher, what we did was we stepped through the array and we calculated the maximum value from a focused window. Then we just calculated the maximum value at any given time by comparing the current maximum versus a window maximum. And if that window max was lower than 0, we just reset that window max to 0. This allowed for us to step through the array only once, which gave us a runtime of big O of n, or linear time. Well, for LeetCode question 152, Maximum Product Array, we can do the same kind of thing, but we just want to kind of extend Cadane's algorithm a little bit. So the difference between looking at the sum versus the product is that the product can increase if a negative number is multiplied with another negative number occurring later on. Whereas with the sum, you can only decrease the value with a negative number. So we need to keep track of the minimum number and the maximum number as we're stepping through the array. And with that, we can still maintain the linear runtime. So let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is just set up 3 integers, and we're going to keep track of the maximum, the max ending at a certain window, and the minimum ending at a certain window. And we're going to set all 3 of them to the value at index of 0. And next up, let's set our for loop. We're just going to do the usual of int I equals 0 while I is less than nums.length and increment I each time. And next we're going to set up a temporary integer, and we're just going to set this to the maximum value between a couple of things. We want to compare the value at the current index versus the product of the max ending here times the value at the current index versus the product of the min ending here times the value at the current index. And we'll just take the largest one of those 3. And I'll just reset my screen so you can see that more clearly. And next up, we just want to reevaluate the minimum ending here. And we're just going to compare the value at the current index versus the min ending here times the value at the current index versus the max ending here times by the value at the current index. And let's reset the max ending here to that temporary value. And let's readdress that total max. And we're going to want to take the maximum number between the max ending here, and the min ending here. And this just accounts for those special times where we're multiplying a negative number by another negative number and, of course, come out with a positive number. And then finally, when we've looped through our entire array, we're just going to return the max. And let's run that. And we've just got a little spelling error in one of the variables right here. And let's try and run it again. And one more. Kind of looks like I'm trying to spell engineering. There you go. Let's run it again. Okay, and we came up with a problem. We have a wrong answer here, and the simple solution is that what we actually did when we were looping through the array, we set I equal to 0. We want to set it equal to 1. Of course, if I is equal to 0, then we're just going to be multiplying the value at 0 times the value at 0, since we already set max to the value at 0. So let's go ahead and just rerun that, and hopefully it works this time. And there we go. So another kind of tricky one today. This is still a medium level question, so just a word of encouragement. Don't worry if you didn't get it right away. I certainly didn't. It took a lot of practice for me to get this one down. But let's keep going with them. Let's do one every single day, and I'll see you tomorrow for another question.